Welcome back, guys. Alright, so this is going to be a quick video on how I use OBS to make my videos. I try to do the least amount of editing as possible because I think that just takes a significant amount of time, and I'm just trying to get a quick guide or a quick gameplay out or something like that. So I do most of my recording in OBS directly, and I transition between various scenes to get the content I want live when I'm doing that recording. So this is also something that McTy and I do when we record our videos for McTy's channel, Gaming with McTy. And we actually have a dedicated system just for doing OBS because we want to be able to feed in both of our gaming computers into the same recording session. And so that way we can have dual input for HDMI input for our game consoles, which are just two more i7 desktops with Windows 10. And then we also have two webcams that are put on top of our monitors, and that's all part of that same system. Anyhow, in this scenario, though, I'm recording on my Linux box, and this is OBS is running on the box that I'm recording on. And what I wanted to do was just show you guys real quickly on how I do that with hotkeys. And this would apply also to Windows, so don't just exit because I just said Linux. OBS is the same product for Windows or Linux. So basically what I do is I create 3 different scenes, and I can't transition these scenes, right, because it would literally transition what I'm recording right now. So we're just going to keep it in the desktop so you can see what I'm doing. But what I've done is I have a start background. So the start background is literally just an image, and you saw it at the beginning of this video. And I like to do that because I want something in there, something visual right before I do the intro. And then I switch immediately to the intro, which runs it has a source for the intro video, and it just plays that video one time. And then when it gets close to the end of that intro, I typically switch over to the third scene, which is the desktop, which is what you see right now. So a couple things I do in OBS. One, I got rid of the default audio settings here, right? Because I don't want it just recording everything. And the reason I do that is because these default audio settings for input, for desktop input and mic input, they are the same settings that apply to every scene. So if you did in start background, you wanted to mute the microphone or mute the desktop because all you really want is a blank image with no audio, and you mute those two, like right here, right? Like I mute this. Well, if you were to mute that on the background scene, and then you go over to the desktop scene, it's still muted because it's literally the same device in the mixer. So obviously that doesn't work because when you hit the desktop, you want it to be recording the desktop, whatever's happening on that desktop. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to want to create your scenes. Scenes are pretty easy. You just hit this plus sign, right? And you type the name of the scene in. No big deal. And then for each scene, you have various sources within that scene. You can just add these sources like that. So for like the background image, that's an image, literally. You just say image, and there it is, add existing, right? I've already added it because it's in that first scene. I'm not going to do it on this scene because we don't need it. And then for the video one, it's going to be media source. You type media source, and there's my intro, and you just type, it's just an MOV file. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's an AVI file for the intro. And for this scene, you can see there's 3 of them, right? I have the audio output capture, so this is going to capture any audio that happens on my desktop. So if I play a video or do anything that, like a game or anything that has output audio, you're going to capture it in the recording. And then this is the input capture, which is me talking as the microphone. So you can go to settings for these. You can see I'm just literally using the devices for these. I don't want to have to manage them. I mean, if you got more advanced stuff, you can pick up the various devices that you have in here. But most of the time, you're going to have a mic and an output, right? You're playing a game, you want to record the output for that game. Just pick default. And then screen capture. Screen capture is going to be whatever's on the screen. You can see that it just literally captures my entire screen, which is why you get this awesome tunnel effect, right? Because it's capturing itself, that's capturing itself, that's capturing itself all the way down to this tunnel. That's pretty cool looking. So if I were to minimize this, obviously you wouldn't get that tunnel. All you're going to get is my desktop, right? So let's go back to OBS. So I've got my scenes created, I've got my sources. What we wanted to first do is we want to cut out the default sources. So you would go to File, it should be the same for Windows, File, Settings. And then you're going to go to Audio. And in Audio, your desktop audio device and your mic auxiliary audio device, these were originally set to default. That's how the program gets installed. Just set those both to disabled and hit OK. And you'll see the mixer will lose both of those. Don't be worried. You just add them back in by manually adding in your input and your output. Literally just like that. Input is for your mic, output is for your speakers, or whatever you hear on your speakers, right? Or your headphones if you're wearing headphones. So the other thing that I do is once the scenes are created, I set hotkeys for those. So if I go over to Hotkeys tab under Settings again, you can see that each of the scenes you create in OBS show up here. So I've got desktop, intro, and start background. You can see they literally relate to start background, intro, and desktop. I've got them in a different order here because I created them in a different order. This is literally the order I created them. It's kind of funny how they show that. They don't show the actual order that's listed here. They show it in the order that the scenes were created, as in like, you know, in a timeline, not necessarily the order you want them to be displayed. So what I've done is my start background is Control-Shift-1. So on my keyboard, I could hit Control-Shift-1, and it would literally transition to my start background. I'm going to do that right now just so you can see. And then now we're back. I hit Control-Shift-3, which goes back to the desktop, and you see it transition back to the desktop. Control-Shift-2 would literally play my and then Control-Shift-3 would take me right back to the desktop, which would let you see this, right? So I've got those three set. So now I know when I'm recording, I can hit Control-Shift-1, start the recording, hit Control-Shift-2 for the intro, hit Control-Shift-3 once the intro is done, and it goes into this recording 3. So it's literally those hotkeys. I can activate all of the OBS scenes without even having OBS visible on the screen. It just needs to be running. So what I've also done is I've done a start and stop recording of the same keys. So it's Control-Shift, it's the tilde key, right? But because I'm holding Shift, it's actually the little tick, I think. That's what it looks like. So I hit it's right next to the 1. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-1 and then Control-Shift-tilde, and it'll start the recording. And then Control-Shift-2, and it does the intro. And then when the intro is done playing, Control-Shift-3, and it gets to the desktop. I literally do all of that without seeing OBS. So the reason I mention that is because when you're recording with OBS on the same computer that the OBS software is running on, right? You're going to play a game, but you don't have dedicated recording equipment like McTy and I do, which is fine. You just need to make sure that you run OBS, you minimize OBS, and then you can see it up in the tray. On Windows, it would show up in the bottom right corner, and Linux is going to be wherever it is for your specific distro. This is Ubuntu, and so you would see it up here in this corner. You can see this Ubuntu icon with the little red. That little red means that it's recording. So if I were to hit Control-Shift-tilde, it would literally stop my recording, and this video would be over, which is obviously not what I want to do because I'm in the middle of recording this to show you guys what I'm doing. So what I do is I open OBS since I've got my scenes created. I make sure it's on the start background scene first. I minimize OBS. I get to what I want to do. I hit Control-Shift-1, which just validates that it's on that background. Control-Shift-tilde to start the recording. Control-Shift-2 to play my intro. Control-Shift-3. And now I'm literally sitting here at this piece recording what you see right now. And OBS was never visible to the end user minus this little icon here, or to the viewer rather, minus this little icon here or that icon up in the upper tray area. So that's actually pretty rad because then I can use OBS on the box I'm going to play games on, or then I'm going to record content on, and it's all pretty seamless there. So let's bring OBS back up. One thing I want to mention is in the intro scene, you have to turn on to be able to hear what your intro is, to know when it's done playing, right? Because you can't visually see it as the recording person like me. So when I do the start background, then I play the intro, I don't get to see the intro. Only you're seeing the intro because it's on the final recording. Me, I'm just looking at my desktop. That's really it. So what I want to do is I want to be able to hear that. And so what you have to do on the scene, I'm not going to switch to intro, right, because it'll just show you the intro. So what I'm going to have to do is we're going to go to media source. I'm going to pretend like this is the intro. You don't have to do this yourself. We're going to add this DMA. Sorry about that. Here on the corner. So what I wanted to show you was if you edit that, it's now in the source, right? In the intro scene, literally that is the only source in there is this intro object. So I'm going to edit that. And what you're going to do is, this isn't where it is. Now I'm drawing a blank. Hold on just a second here. Where did I get that from? That's right, edit advanced audio properties. So sorry for the delay there. So here's what it is. So once you've added that source, it's not in the properties here. I apologize for that. Where it is you're gonna have to make sure you're in the right scene, and then you're gonna want to go to Edit, Advanced Audio Properties, and under Advanced Audio Properties, you want to monitor and output. So if you add it just like the first time you add this source to your scene, it'll be monitor off, which means in your headphones, you won't even hear it playing. Now, the end result will have the audio recorded, but you won't get to hear it. So you won't even know when your intro started or if your intro finished or whatever, right? And you can't see it again because you're running OBS minimized in the background. So you want to make sure that you change this audio monitoring to monitor and output. You don't want just monitor only, right? Because monitor only would mean only you hear it in your headphones, but in the end recording, you won't hear it. You want it in both. You want to hear it in your headphones, and you want to hear that output, or you want to hear it in the recording, right? You want to make sure that's both. So that's why it's set to monitor and output. So, so that's basically it. That's essentially how I do it. You can obviously add a outro, which is a really good idea because then you can stack various, like, hey, click this next video on your YouTube channel. I don't have an outro yet. I have to make a page for that, or a little image or whatever I'm going to do, some music in the background and stuff. But you could literally add another scene to this list. You can go over to File, Settings, and you could give it another hotkey, and you can make that hotkey Control-Shift-4. So when you're done with the recording, be like, hey guys, that's it for this recording, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, etc. And then you hit that Control-Shift-4, it goes to your outro. Bam! Once you sit on that outro for maybe like 20 seconds or something, because that's all YouTube lets you do for the outro boxes when you're doing the in-screen stuff, then you would end your recording. So, so that's basically it. That's what I do with OBS. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe. I don't have an outro, so we're just going to literally cold cut this right now. See you guys.